Thank you for joining me, dear friends, on this Advent adventure. And since our third week begins with the full long night's moon of December, I thought to speak to the cosmic signature that is inscribed in the starry astral realm at this time. So you may have noticed Bella Luna is dancing between Jupiter and Capella. Capella is the brightest star in Auriga, the charioteer. Look up these stories. It's really, really fascinating. And benevolent Jupiter, 'tis topped by the giant orange star Aldebaran. This is the fiery eye of Taurus the bull. And let us also commune with the seven sisters in the shimmering Pleiades star cluster. This celestial gathering is rising shortly after sunset, and it's visible all during the long, cold night into the dawning twilight. And can you also feel a sweeping in the astral realm? The Geminid meteor showers are peaking. And the radiant point coming from Gemini, near Castor, the mortal brother in the constellation of the twins. Now, these meteors are unusual because they're not caused by a comet, but by fragments of an asteroid named after Phaethon, the son of the sun god Helios, who crashes the chariot of the sun into the earth. So we have a lot to ponder here in these we get two images of the chariot and the charioteer, right? Who's driving? Who's driving? This is our question for today. And so what can we take from these starry stories into our life lessons now? And what are asteroids? Well, we can encounter the asteroid belt between the orbits of Jupiter and Mars. And we can think how spiritual science tells us that the planetary spheres carry the memories of our previous stages of evolution, as well as holding the promise of our future phases. And in occult science, Rudolf Steiner describes these cycles. When our astral nature was developing during what we call the ancient moon phase, a, quote, great cosmic war took place between the higher evolutionary beings and those who rebelled or remained behind during this cycle. And the results or remains of this war are what we see in the asteroid belt. So, dear friends, on this full cold moon, with these Gemini meteors coming in from the asteroid belt as part of our Advent trials, which, according to the sidereal reckoning of astrosophy, occurs with the sun moving through Scorpio, sign of death, transformation, and the memory of this great rebellion against the sunbeams. We are called to prepare the way for the light of Christ that is to be born anew in us. A spiritual deepening here in the dark, and a recognition of the deed of sacrifice of the higher to the lower, as seen in the myth of the Gemini twins. Right? When the mortal brother Castor is killed in battle, the immortal brother Pollux vowed to save his twin, even at the cost of sacrificing his own immortality. So perhaps these shooting stars can be taken as a an awakening warning, a cautionary tale, reminding us that we are also called to bring redemption to the earthly. For this week, the ground will fall out from under our feet as we step off into the air trial. So we have to learn how to fly in our thinking, to practice spirit beholding, which is spoken in the third panel of the Foundation Stone meditation. Our thinking needs to be open, quiet, but present and awake. We are to practice spirit beholding in stillness of thought. When we reach the air trial, which we're striving to do this week, nothing is compelling us from outside. We are left on our own. We're up in the air. We have no ground to stand on. Nothing is lifting us up or directing us but our own higher self. We are left in freedom to do as we will. So we can't let fear take the ground out from under our feet or put us on our knees or take our breath away. We're called to create our own moral uprightness so that we can experience and practice altruistic thinking. To be upright, we can stand on the foundation stone and look inward to find, quote, where the eternal goals of the gods bestow the light of cosmic being on your own eye for free and active willing. Yeah, the foundation stone, it's the secret code. It's the key that unlocks the human soul. It is the prescription for what ails thee. And yeah, from the first panel, which we turned to during the first week of Advent, we see how the will that was bestowed on us from the past must now, in the third week, be transformed into living thinking. There is this real lemniscate quality to the thinking and the willing, how they play against each other and have to flow into each other through the enthusiasm of the feeling life, right? This is a creative consciousness which can only be achieved through having a will that is free and a soul that's balanced. So this trial requires that our eye hold our soul forces together as we move through the testing of our living, as we make our way per spiritum sanctum revivissimus. We unite ourselves in spirit. In spirit, we live again. Yeah, it's interesting. This year, during the Advent season, I'm working to become the star singer in the shepherd's play. I've had other roles in other years, but this is the second of the Oberrufer Christmas dramas, named after the Austrian village on an island in the Upper Danube. This river, the source, begins in the magical region of the Black Forest of Germany and flows through Bavaria and Austria. And these ancient tales were first collected by Rudolf Steiner's beloved teacher, Karl Julius Schur. And the folk that engaged with these mystery dramas took it very seriously, fasting and holding a moral uprightness during the Advent time while preparing to present the plays. Now, the first drama, the Paradise Play, tells the story in the book of Genesis of the creation of the world and of Adam and Eve's expulsion from the Garden of Eden after they succumbed to the Luciferic stratagem tempting them to eat the fruit of the tree of knowledge too soon, tree of good and evil. And it is from this primordial tree that we get the modern tradition of the Christmas tree. In the olden days, they called it the paradise tree. And Christmas Eve, the first of the holy nights, was referred to as the Feast of Adam and Eve. So yeah, it makes sense that the first of the Oberhofer Christmas stories begins with the fall from paradise, since that was the reason the nativity was necessary in the redemption of our evolution. Which leads us to the second drama, the Shepherd's Play, which tells the story of the proclamation of the birth of the pure Nathan Jesus to the poor shepherds in the field. This is the nativity story told in the gospel according to Luke. And the third of the Oberhofer plays is the King's Play, which tells us of the visit of the three wise men, the Magi, to the birthplace of the wise Zarathustra, Jesus' child, and of the murderous atrocities of Herod in his attempt to destroy the newborn king. And this is the nativity story told in the gospel according to Matthew, where the Holy Family emigrates to Egypt. Yeah, they escape, like many refugees. They're escaping war and persecution. They escape to avoid the reign of Herod. And this play is traditionally performed on the last of the Holy Nights, the Feast of Epiphany, Three Kings Day. Yeah, this knowledge of the two Jesus children is seen in the different birth stories, featuring completely different genealogies that we can compare between the Gospels of Luke and Matthew. Steiner gave many insights around this mystery of the two streams, how they have to come together. And as these images show, and there's many, many more, there's, an occult truth is revealed through art, oftentimes, and we have numerous examples in Renaissance art. So this open secret is supported in many of the apocryphal Gospels, in the Gnostic texts, and especially in the Dead Sea Scrolls, which were discovered in a cave close to the Essene enclave near Nazareth, some 40 years after Steiner spoke about these mysteries. So these discoveries affirmed his supersensible cognition of these highly esoteric truths. And in the scroll called the Gospel of the Egyptians, we hear that the future kingdom of the New Jerusalem will be able to come into the world when, quote, the two become one, and the outer becomes as the inner. So this quote expresses the occult reality of the coming together of the two Jesus children at the turning point of time to create this perfect human vessel for the Christ, which gives Earth its meaning and humanity its goal. So perhaps we'll explore that further in the fourth week when we reach the human animal kingdom. So yeah, being in the midst of all the anthroposophical Jubilee milestones, right, these 100-year milestones, I've been thinking a lot about how at the famous Christmas conference of 1923-24, when the great Rosicrucian initiate Rudolf Steiner planted the foundation stone of love into the temple of the human heart, bringing to birth the being of anthroposophia on earth, uniting us in our karma, that this deed was another turning point, heralding the reappearance of Christ in the etheric and the redemption of Isis, Mary, Sophia. The Christmas conference is felt every year at Christmas time. And yeah, it's especially potent now after 100 years. This 100-year milestone, very, very important. And like the refounding at the Christmas conference, the Christmas festival itself, celebrating the birth of light, is not a single event that's one and done. No. Steiner tells us, quote, "It is not a memorial festival commemorating what has occurred in the past. The Christmas message does not say, Christ has been born, Christ was born. It says, today, Christ is born. Today is always emphasized. This is significant. The emphasis on today should be understood in the sense in which Christ has spoken, I am with you always, even unto the end of days." And as we know, before we can give birth every year to this new light, we must first go through the challenge of Advent. Yes, we are tasked with taking responsibility for our own moral development. Can't emphasize that enough, I guess. And yeah, we can do that. We get help if we look back at our previous stages of evolution. So this time of year, it's all about the recapitulation, right? We review the past, we look past, look at our past year to see where we stand in the present and where we want to go in the future. And each week of Advent sheds light on our earlier stages of evolution. So let's explore this idea from The Signs and Symbols of the Christmas Festival by Rudolf Steiner, where he says that our time now, quote, the fifth post-Atlantean epoch, repeats the three preceding periods in the great process of Advent. The first 3 weeks of Advent symbolize these earlier epochs. And in the fourth week, the human being must once again pass through the way the birth of the light was experienced at the first Christmas, surrounded by choirs of angels. We can contemplate how the first week of Advent, sacred to the physical mineral realm with its fire trial, is a recapitulation of ancient India. We could do a whole seminar about that. Just kind of listing them off here. The second week, honoring the etheric plant world, brings us into ancient Persia after the great flood of Atlantis with its water trial. And this third week, we pay tribute to the animal kingdom and the astral realm that we share with them, which calls up for us the magic of ancient Egypt with its air trial. The modern Rosicrucian path of Rudolf Steiner's cognitive ritual is a renewal of those mysteries. Steiner brought the Mizraim Dienst to his ritual group, the Mystica Eternia. Mizraim is the mystery name of Egypt, and Dienst means service or rite. So it fits that this third week of Advent has a through line that runs from the Egypto-Chaldean epoch and honors the animal kingdom. Because, of course, there's a lot of animal imagery in the Egyptian pantheon, highlighting the various qualities of these powerful archetypal totems. So Sure, we do. We love our domesticated animal friends, but there's something really powerful in the pure archetype in regards to our humanness, a sacrifice that they made for us so that we can be in our uprightness. And yeah, as a cosmopolitan city girl, I don't have many encounters with the untamed or opportunities to get up close and personal with the majority of the animal world. Although actually here in Chicago, it's surprising how many birds and wild creatures like coyote who live in the cemetery across from us, and that possum family that took up residence near our compost. And there's even fox and skunk in the outskirts. So yes, there are opportunities even amongst us urbanites to engage with the animal kingdom. And on the downside, in modern society, we're often taught that we need to fear animals, right? There's a danger, and many of my neighbors are unnerved by coyote. They could have rabies, or folks ignore, or they neglect, or misuse, or harm the animal world in many ways. And yes, we kill them, we eat them. And when we do this with an unconscious attitude of fear and dominance, we also kill ourselves and our natural environment. And of course, there is a world of difference as to what goes on for the animal kingdom when we steward them. Biodynamic farm, which, thank the gods, is diametrically opposed to the atrocities of the industrial CAFO agribusiness death model. I often think that part of the lesson of the corona crisis is trying to get us to see a connection between, well, many things, including the abuse of animals and the natural world. Spiritual science shows that each type of animal represents a specific soul mood, giving us an archetypal imprint, outpictured in the constellations of the zodiac, right? Experienced in the cast off reflections of ourselves in the astral realm. And so today, let us honor the animal kingdom for their great sacrifice. So I have my little mini Advent altar here. Get this lit. With 3 candles. The third light of Advent is the light of peace, the light of hope that we may see what is greatest in the least. Animals of farm, field, forest, air, and sea, all await the birth of the light in thee. So yeah, at Christmastide, we look to the symbol of the manger, surrounded by these pure archetypes of the soul world, and see there its reflection in our own hearts, waiting to serve the child of light as the animal kingdom serves us so unselfishly. And we can reflect on the idea and the image of the child of light, the Messiah, being born in a lowly manger. What is this sign? What is a manger? It's a trough. It's a trough for fodder. It's literally a rack used to hold food for animals. The child of light was born in a manger. Think about that, dear friends. This will be a sign to you. You will find a baby wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger. The word manger comes from the Old French, to eat, and from the Latin, to chew. Is the manger a pointer to the transubstantiation initiated 33 years later at the Last Supper? It certainly represents Christ's humbleness. Blessed are the meek, those who are humble, for they will inherit the whole earth. So as we embark on this third week of Advent, where we meet the air trial, we are tasked with striving to develop a humble, sense-free thinking, a thinking that does not kill. And so it is, dear ones, that I'll leave you with this from the Star Singer. We greet the stable that stood them for house. We greet the child that was born in that stable, and the ox and the ass stood by his cradle. Blessings, friends. Next up is winter solstice. Until soon. Peace.